All right, we are doing a baseball mobile recap video with Russ. Thank you, Russ, for helping me this past
Oh,
week.
it was an honor and a pleasure to learn how to play with this new toy.
And this is going to be extremely informal, nothing fancy or anything like that. So anybody that is watching, just kind of follow along, learn a little something, and we're just going to make sure by recording it that we're capturing everything. And this is definitely public. Anybody that's out there can watch it. So we're just going to have some fun and talk. I'm going to ask him questions because he was inside. Just so everybody understands and knows, I was on a mobile phone out on a baseball field videotaping a game with just my phone, a Bluetooth, and I'm going to get into that in a second because I'm going to show you guys all that stuff, and a tripod, and a extra little charger in case my battery went low. And then Russ was inside on his computer running the show using a program called ManyCam as a tool to help him do a lot of the features and things that we did. So that being said, we're going to get right into it. And the first thing I'm going to ask Russ is the same thing I asked off the air before we decided to go ahead and record this. The playlist. What was the process in when you were going through the task of capturing pictures so you could roll them later? The whole idea, what we decided, what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to, when there's dead time, like in between innings in baseball, it can get kind of boring there. So rather than have them just sitting there looking at the side of a fence or something, Russ was able to capture some pictures. So he's going to walk me through and talk to me because he was on the inside of that process. So go ahead.
Yeah, what I want to do is I'm doing a screen share of a screen capture that I made just to what I was working with. This is my secondary monitor. Everything that I had was on my monitor to my right. I was watching the game and everything that you were feeding in and your brother fed in. I was watching that on my main monitor, but on my right-hand monitor, I had the tools for the whole game. Now, one of the things that you did that really helped was to be able to give a scoreboard, and that's on the left-hand side. And I'm not sure that you will be able to see it or my mouse. On the left-hand side of the screen, there's a black square and some ball team names and colors and score and the inning. And this is all done in Excel. So as the score progressed, I would enter the team scores, and we had a little numbering system where I could put number 1, it would be the top of the first, and 13 was the final score. So that was the score that I could throw in. Normally, I let the screen run.
Russ, just a quick thing.
Yep, sure.
Was it Excel or was it actually a Google spreadsheet?
I'm sorry, you're right. Google Spreadsheet. Yes.
I just want to clarify for people
Yes.
because that's pretty much all I use.
Yes.
And I kind of came up with the formulas and designed it, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
And it worked like a champ. Once we figured out what we wanted to do and get the colors right, so we knew what we were dealing with, so I could throw the score on whenever I wanted to. And on the right is the minicam screen. Now I'm going to change my view in my window to minicam as it is right now, so that in the upper left-hand corner, I had in the screen capture that I showed, the upper left-hand corner was this live feed and the score on top. I rarely used it. The screen in the center and
Real
the
quick
left.
on that, up on the top left, is that what is pinned?
I'm sorry?
Or what we term as blue box, would that be a blue box screen?
Yeah, yes, that was the blue box screen.
So whatever you had blue boxed or pinned, whichever way you want to say it, that's what that top screen was, correct?
And on top of that, there was with minicam, you have the feature. I don't know whether you can see my
Yes.
mouse. Okay.
Well, I can't see the mouse, but I see what you're talking about.
The up and down box. The upper, I had the score. smaller than half. I wanted full as much of the picture as I could in the bottom half, the score on top. Let me go back
Nice.
to my my screen capture, and you will see that the upper left-hand corner
Mm-hmm.
had the full what I had pinned in coming from you. I had that at the bottom and the score on top. And I did that so it looked cool. And I'm going to go back to my screen capture. And the second one down is where you were asking about the screen capture. Now, the live feed, I'll come back to the screen capture.
Sure.
The live feed, which is the one full screen at the bottom, is where I
Actually, in this picture right here, it says the word live on it, correct?
that is correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
So if you
So
can
that
see the green live, those of you that are watching out there, the green live, that's the live broadcast of what he's doing most of the time, I would say. Wouldn't you say?
yeah, yes, I that was most of the time. Now I had to use the camera, which is an icon just below the screen capture that you're seeing right now. There's a camera icon, and
Nice.
let me go back. Let me change screens, and maybe you can see that being highlighted.
Yeah, try your draw button now, since we're on showing the demo.
Okay, let me try that.
And then yeah, red's a good color. Then just circle the
No,
camera and see what happens.
it's not working
Are you
for me.
circling it up in the picture?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
anyhow,
so
uh,
so things don't always work.
there you go. But what I did was I I just took pictures, and I would take a bunch of them, and they would come into the
Gallery.
into the gallery, which is let me see what let
If you
me
look at the top there, in his you see video effects and gallery up there. So he
there you
chose
go.
gallery.
There's the gallery,
Mm-hmm.
and if I get over here to playlist, I click on the icon, and I clear it. I clear the playlist, but then I can then load the playlist, and oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going
It's
on.
taking us there, or something's.
Uh, uh, yes, it's supposed to be able to let me capture my screens. Anyhow, they'll give me oh, I know what I was doing wrong. I click on the plus sign in that window. Can you see my?
Just see a gray screen scrolling right now.
Okay, wait a minute. Oh, I know what's. It's bring me a pop-up window that lets me. And let me change how I'm doing. I don't know whether you probably can't see what I'm seeing. Thank
Mm-mm.
goodness. Anyhow, it brings up. Let me explain. Let me see if I can explain it. Let me get back to where I'm back live here. That was supposed to be Minicam. Um, it'll bring up what looks like Windows Explorer with file names. And
let me go to mine just to see if that
yeah,
does
yeah.
anything. All right, if I go right here.
Playlist, yep, or there.
Gallery.
You want Snapshot Gallery? Double click.
Yep.
And hit, uh, click on the playlist.
Okay, I'm going to go down here and click on playlist.
Click on playlist. Now
then
click the plus sign where add down at the bottom. And
you're not going to see all the menu, but I'll go down to where it says what, media files or something?
Media files, yes.
Okay.
So then that would give you the list of, now I kept the pictures in date, time order, sorted by date, time. So I knew exactly, because I wasn't keeping track of file names, I was using the last 10, the most recent 10 pictures, which would have been at the bottom of the list. Okay. And I would click on one of the file names and then hit the shift key and click on the bottom one. So I would go
So
up
you can
10,
select
so I can
like that
select
many.
the 10 most recent
Right.
pictures.
So
Sometimes,
if this was the 10 most right here, you could
yep,
select them all like that.
yes, yep. And then I would just let them play, and they would just be running loose in that second quadrant down, and
And
so it
just
was running all the time.
so this always
Yeah,
had pictures in it.
yeah. It always had
Okay.
pictures in it. Go back to image
Okay.
or the video. I'm sorry,
Yep. Video.
video. Yep.
So they would always be scrolling through there.
They would yes, they would always be scrolling through there, and I I would be able to, when there was dead time, when you told me you were moving, I would switch to that screen, and I had to its right. I had I did the same thing, but I had the split screen where the uh, ball score was at the top, or I'm sorry, in the lower left-hand corner on the image screen. There's a picture-in-picture uh, on your screen. Is the picture-in-picture
Mm-hmm.
on the image tab.
So if I were to go right here, let me go to media files real quick,
Yep.
and I'm just going to go pick some pictures. We're going to do this so you guys can kind of get a demo. I'm going to get some Little League pictures. I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one, these three, and I hit open. Okay, it creates a playlist, correct, or does it?
Yep.
Okay, so now I can cut right to that playlist. There's my three pictures. Okay, and what he's talking about is he's talking about if I have an image and I want to put a little image down in here, I would go ahead and select desktop, custom area, and just get the score. So only the score shows up down in that bottom corner. So I'm going to do that real quick just so you can kind of see. And boom, sure enough, those pictures are rolling, yet I have the scoreboard down in the corner to show different things like that.
Yep.
Okay, and I can move that over here, up here, out of the way for whatever I'm doing.
Yep.
Playlist, you can change the time. You can delay it 3 seconds so they're rolling pretty quick.
That's what I ran them at, was 3, because I didn't know there's no way for me to know how long I would be.
How long the intermission was?
Yeah. So I just set it for 3 so to scroll through, and I
Nice.
could, toward the end of the final, the championship game, I would switch between the playlist that I had with the score and the playlist without the score. So I got to the point where I was showing pictures in the last half inning, so that you weren't watching the opening inning when you were in the third inning. I got
you. I got you.
I figured out how
Very
to make it.
nice.
I figured out how to make it so that I could have the most. That's why I picked 10. I just went back and I took about 3,000 pictures, by the way.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Only because I didn't know, and I didn't know. I knew what was on the picture, but I just wanted to capture as many people
In moments.
many kids as possible and show them as I could. Now, when I'm looking at what the playlist, I don't know what's going to be there because it's all you had your. I wouldn't be able to click the last 10, which is why I had mine sorted by details, which is sorted by file name and or timestamp, and I did a timestamp, and I just picked the last 10 pictures to roll, and they were ready for me to rock and roll whenever you told me there was downtime, and if it was delayed downtime, what you wanted to do, and I picked up on this, that you wanted to be able to see the pitcher as he was warming up if they swapped out pictures. So I would roll some pictures as you moved, and then when you got on the mound, because I'm watching your image in my screen, and I see, well, he's now planted, it stopped moving, and I just then switch over when I saw that the pitcher was ready to throw his warm-ups. Then I stopped the screen and blue box pinned you so that the folks who are watching on YouTube were seeing the pitcher warm up.
That's a great point. And on my end, just so you know what's going on my end, when that's what he was listening for. And there were a lot of things that we would talk about. You heard full production. That's the only thing, is you're going to hear full production. We couldn't communicate amongst ourselves. So anybody that was watching the video heard everything. So if I said, okay, backing away, he knew to get something ready or ready to click something. So you weren't getting dizzy from my camera, and it turned out beautiful. I mean, or I would say, okay, going in the dugout to get dugout pictures. Or I said, I'm going to get the crowd. I'm going to get the crowd or something. And I'd pan over to the fence, and he would wait till my tripod got set and then roll and then go right over to it. And I could kind of tell he would bring it up on screen. On my end, visually, sometimes Russ would have on his main screen that I saw maybe the roll-in pictures. But one thing that I found was great, it was whenever he put the live feed on the main screen, even though he could blue box, and I would say to him, I say, Russ, I'm seeing pictures. Are we blue boxed on me or whatever? And he'd say, yep, I got you. Just as a double check so we weren't missing something or something like that. Because of what I saw on the main screen of my cell phone. So that was pretty interesting sometimes too. But what was nice about with the small square, let me just say this while we're on this subject. With the small square in the little video thing on your phone, it's hard to tell. Like, I couldn't tell if I had the batter in view or if I had first base in view, if I was on that side. I couldn't tell. So what I would do is the right edge of my picture that I'm looking at, I would get right to the edge of first base, and it seemed to pick up everything.
Absolutely.
But what was nice was if I wasn't, Russ was there to say, go left a little. Yeah. You know, a couple of times I'd miss it or I'd adjust after a play.
Yep.
So that was my keys for that. But when he put it on screen, it was fantastic because I could see exactly where I needed to be. I could see if I'm getting too much of the backstop, I can move into the umpire and stuff like that. So I was able to get all those views and make that work. So that was nice.
It was really awesome when Tom joined us that last game, and where I had another view, and understanding response time from my end and from what you guys were doing. I tried to make the transition not during a play because we were all trying to capture the play, but and my delay was I could tell that if I hit the button, it took a couple milliseconds to do the transition. So I didn't want to confuse who was seeing it on the YouTube side, watching the live feed. So I tried to make it make sense, and if I looked at the first game versus the last game, I hope there was some improvement. Figured out how to use the technology and the timing. One of the things that I think that you and I this might want to talk about from your experience, based on the conversations that have been on the Hangout Helper, Ronnie Bintzer's community, is the lighting and the upload and download speed. From my view, the picture quality was impacted by the environment that you were in. For some reason, and I didn't think it was going to happen this way, but it actually was best, I think, quality-wise, when you were under lights. And that was the contrast with the fact one day you got rained on, the cloud, the overcast, sunny skies, but the night games seemed to be crisper. And I think that has to do with what we've talked about in the Hangout Helper community and user to user is the contrast on the screen, the lighting issue. Like your lighting is greatly improved just today, the changes you've made recently,
Mm.
so that the lighting at night, I believe that the quality of the pictures were better because of the lighting at night versus the contrast when you were trying to deal with the sunlight and the
Yeah,
trees.
exactly.
And
I noticed, yeah, exact. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It does seem a bit crisper and stuff. And you even mentioned this with the weather, the overcast and stuff like that affected the signal, and
yes,
actually and affected how well the picture came across as well. But
yes.
not only that, I agree with you because I was battling because I would try and take out the sun, so I had to angle my camera down. It's pretty unique and interesting how I tried to do some of that to make that work.
And Tom, on the final game, you were on the first base line, and Tom
Mhm.
was on the third base line, and his pictures were crisper because he didn't have the contrast of the sun that
Yep.
you were looking into.
Yep.
His
Exactly.
The sun was behind him, looking across the field, and of course the ball field, the dirt was giving light, was enhancing the light from
Hmm.
as opposed to the grass. So his pictures were crisper than yours were because you were going right into the sun and you
Hmm.
had to angle down so that you cut out as much of the sun as possible.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That's
lighting
mhm.
in this case just amplifies what we've talked about in lighting in a Hangout on Air. I think it amplifies it. That you can see it drastically.
I agree. And just to add to that, since you brought up the two cameras and stuff, one thing that we found when we did it when I was just me in the earlier games, we had my phone went out one time, if I remember correctly.
Yep, yep,
It was okay because Russ was able to keep the production going with those pictures that he had captured.
yep,
So he could keep things going while I was getting the phone back, whether it was getting the battery charged or whatever. Or sometimes you deal with that. I mean, you're going to have a drop call. So
yep.
that was really really spectacular having the Manicam feature
Oh,
to be able to
absolutely.
be able to draw back on that. And the other thing that happened too, it's crazy in the game where we did have two cameras. His phone died, ran out of power. I kept it, and we communicated that. Okay, Tom's gone, or Russ saw it as he dropped it out. So Russ knew to stay on me, and I just took the game the rest of the way through to the end of that inning. I took the charger over to Tom's tripod, and we hooked it up, got him back in the call. I went back over, started that next inning, and then he came in, and then right at the very end, my phone just dropped. It dropped the
Yeah,
call. I had no idea why.
yep,
Right after we get to the championship banner and everybody's going crazy, it just died.
yep.
But so he was able to stay on, and I was able to come back, so we could both capture some of that stuff. So it was really, really a
The
great learning
the
experience.
the two other things that I think we ought to emphasize. One is the importance of a tripod.
Yep.
Uh, the first time we played around with it, you didn't have it, and
Yep.
it sure made a difference when you had the tripod.
Great
The
point.
the other thing is sound. Um, it was important to me, I think, and to the folks on the outside, that we heard the sounds of the ball game, which I thought was very important. And your sound was great. It wasn't Howard Cosell, but you learned how to do that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
but when was but I don't think Tom had a headphone. He was using the microphone from his cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it just points out a reminder that I think we just want to say that, like we talk about in Hangouts in general,
Mm-hmm.
the sound needs to be dealt with, and camera in the outdoor environment just doesn't hack it. You need to have some sort of sound, and in the ball game, you don't want the kinds of microphones that Ronnie showed in South by Southwest, because you want the background noise as opposed to having an interview with
where you muffle those background sounds. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So you could hear the. In fact, it was frightening that when Tom
when they scream
when you both muted. Wait a minute, what's happening? So
it kind of, yeah, that's right. Kind of got a little scared there. Well, since we're on it, I have with Manicam. It's kind of nice. I can do it with my mobile phone. I'm gonna mute myself here, but I'm gonna show you. I'll talk from my cell phone so you will be able to hear. I'm going to talk about the equipment I used, so just so you can see. First off, let me go to, I will go to, I don't know, maybe I will. We can go to, where is that? Interesting. All right, well, I thought it would. What I wanted to do was bring up this. I want to show you, some of you know about Bluetooth. They have the little earpieces and things like that. I'm going to go straight to this view. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. This is a what I wore around my neck. It's a Bluetooth device. It's an LG Tone Pro. And it's just like having earbuds. Okay, so it's just like that, and then there's like a little microphone, like I think the mic is like right here. Okay.
Yep.
And that's what I used for my total sound when I was doing it. That's what I used the whole time for the sound that he's talking about, and it seemed to block the wind okay. It seemed to work well.
Yes. Yes.
It did okay. Yep. I'm gonna go straight into. Oops. Here's where I'm gonna mute.
It was nice. I could hear, you could hear the background. You didn't hear the noise, and you started calling play by play there in that last game, which was nice for us and for those on the outside. You would give the pitch count and balls and strikes and outs, and that was very, very helpful. And they let me I kept with the Google spreadsheet. I was able to keep up, but a couple times I had a couple things going on that I lost. There was a bunch of runs went across, but I couldn't see how many runs had come across. So it was very helpful for you to tell me the number of runs, and a couple times I had to ask what inning because I got lost.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, I think, sometimes.
But it was learning how to use the spreadsheet and Manicam at the same time. So the more we got into the routine, to better, I think the production came out better on that final game.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go quickly. Let me go to, this is the tripod that oops, let me try and mute myself because I don't have double sound.
Yep. Yep, that's a tripod, and that's the same mount on the top for your camera that I have. That you just slide your smartphone into that device. It slides in horizontal landscape mode, and it clamps right in. It fits really nice. It screws into any tripod. And I think I saw down below a USB drive, and that was probably, I'm not sure what you had on that. Oh, it's a charger. All right, so that's where your charger was. Cool. And that's Velcroed onto the legs of the tripod. The one thing about having that there, and I know that when I did this with Dear Myrtle and a different experience that she put her hung her MiFi to help stabilize that tripod. Now she wasn't out on the ball field that you were,
Mm-hmm.
but it helped her stabilize that tripod.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, having that charger right there, right on the tripod was kind of nice because I had a cord in my back pocket. Pulled it out, plugged it in, and I could keep everything going. So it
Yep.
worked out really well with that. So
Yep.
and I had charged my phone fine, but on Tom's, obviously he didn't. So I had to run it across the field that particular time. But it worked really well. I mean, it worked well for what we were doing. So that's the process through the whole thing. I believe it was this first day or second day. You can hear us on video. I said, I'm out of juice.
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to go. So I went and picked up one of these at the local Target. It's called My Charge. So that it worked well. I mean, it worked fine for what I needed to. So you had to back up power and things like that.
Yep.
So good stuff. So that's my end was a lot less stressful, I would say, than yours. You had 6 different screens to go through, things that you could pull up and stuff like that.
But
overall, if you would say what was probably the biggest for you from day one to the last one, what was the biggest thing that you would say impacted the overall video? Probably, what would you say?
Learning how to use ManyCam to meet our goal of having a ball game that made sense to those watching. Having ManyCam and the Google spreadsheet that you could change, update, you could put your features in that we wanted. You created it, I used it, I added one line so I could have the final score. But using that spreadsheet and ManyCam so that it made sense to the viewer, and learning how to use the various windows in ManyCam. That ManyCam, I think, is the toy that made this thing work, and hopefully it made sense on those who were watching.
Yeah, for the production value, I think you're right. Probably the ManyCam, all of the features that you can do, and adding in like the score in the bottom corner and doing window in window, like you can see right here. If I go to this one, I can add a window in. Well, I can't do it here if I'm not on it, but if I can hit this one, I can put 2 windows in. I could do a up and down video, so something's on the right and left, and up and down. I could do a 4 quadrant, so you can do all 4 screens. And again, you don't see that too well, but yeah, I'd have to agree. But ManyCam we use from the get-go. I would say on my end, as far as what made the biggest change for me was knowing that I have the backup power. That was one key thing from first to the end. Just the biggest drastic thing. There's security there, because when you're out there, you don't know how long things are going to last. What it's going to take. Is this really using a lot of juice? The second thing would be is basically the same as you. Knowing that I have those pictures back up and having you there was huge, because you could roll stuff and keep stuff going. Even though we weren't getting live sounds and things like that, we had something to fall back on in case something. That to me, because I think, did we do pictures from the very first game?
Yeah, I think I have them from the first game.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, those are probably the 2 biggest things that I can see that impacted on that. But yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, and I think that covers everything that I was wanting to know on the back end from you, because it was really nice to be able to see. One thing that you can do, just throwing this out to people, if you do a baseball game or something like that where you have a scoreboard and thing, you can actually set up a camera or a cell phone in this case, just on a fence tripod or something that's just pointing at the scoreboard, so you could always go back to that. You wouldn't
Yep.
even need the scoreboard that we added or anything. You could just have it showing, if you could zoom in enough, just that picture of that scoreboard, which would be a way for you to get the score, and then you could bring that on as a separate image. Just a thought, just an
Yep.
idea for people. So
The fact that I had the ability to cover when the signal got lost, the couple times, I think weather did one of them, but the fact that I could cover until you were able to get back on was important to me, so that
mm-hmm.
the viewers didn't lose anything. Yes, they would have lost the sound, but they're still seeing the game that they couldn't be at, or maybe some of them were watching from the ball field.
That's true too.
But the fact that we could roll pictures to cover, giving you enough time to come back in, I think was helpful. We didn't have to deal with you couldn't get back in, but we knew you could come right back in, and so it was fun. It was a learning experience for me, and hopefully folks will have conversations with you and I about how we did this,
mm-hmm.
learning how to use Minicam for the stuff that we do.
Mm-hmm. I used a Galaxy S5, by the way, too. I wanted to tell what kind of telephone I used.
Yep.
Some people were asking, is that an iPhone or whatever? It's a Galaxy S5.
The other, just a comment about that is, as you know, we did a similar kind of thing at a conference, and ours was an iPhone. And I think the biggest difference there between the two phones is that the Galaxy and HTC, which I just got, are Google friendly.
Good point.
My experience now with the HTC, and you're working with the Galaxy, that it was Google friendly, and we were using Google products, that it was not as complicated as it was when I was working with an iPhone. That's not pros and cons against either type of phone, but what we're trying to do in a Google Hangout, to have a Google friendly smartphone, I think made this one easier than the other one that I did. So
gotcha. Fantastic. Well, great. I think we covered it.
I think so, too.
I'm going to end the broadcast, and hopefully you guys, I might even timestamp this so you can see like key points and areas of where certain things we talked about and brought up. Did this totally for folks out there wanting to do something mobile. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a baseball game. If you're doing any kind of event, if you've got, kids that swim, or you have this, or anywhere like a football game or anything. You really can do just about anything. I know I did it with baseball, but you could do it with any kind of event, not only sports, too. If you want to draw things in, and having the second camera or the second pictures and being able to put things in so people can view it. I will have some links in the description here, too, to the first and last video that we did. So you'll be able to pop right onto those and see those, so it'll be tied with this recording, so that way you can find out all the stuff we were talking about. And this will all be located on YouTube. So, Russ, thank you.
It was an honor and a pleasure working with you.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. All right, folks, play ball.